everyone, this is Rose and I want to bring to you all a new video. I want to bring you a video from Genesis 50 verse 21. Joseph says to his brothers, "You meant evil against me, but God used it for good." Sometimes when the enemy is trying to destroy you, the enemy is really setting you up to be blessed. We see this when we look at Joseph's life. What the brothers meant for evil, God used it for his good. Now, when I was a little girl, my aunt used to have this saying she used to say all the time. I understood the saying, but I didn't understand the significance of the saying she used to say. My auntie used to always say this, "Ain't it funny? When the devil think he hurting you, he really fixing to bless you. Because God will turn it around in your favor." Now, these were the words my auntie used to always say. Now, I understood it, but I didn't understand the significance of it. What she was saying, that God can take any bad situation in your life and turn it around and flip it in your favor. Now, that's what my auntie meant. Sometimes with the devil, your enemies, your haters do to block you, kill your destiny, God will turn it around in your favor and allow you to be blessed regardless of what they done, regardless of what they said, and regardless of the situation. God will still get the glory, will allow the glory to be gotten out of it and turn it around in your favor, just like in Joseph's life. We look over Joseph's life now. We see how Joseph's brothers was jealous of him. Jealous of him because he was his father's favorite. They took Joseph because they was jealous of him and conspired to murder Joseph. But because of his brother Reuben, he said, "No, let's not murder him, but let's throw him into the pit, but let's not murder him and not have that blood on our hands." So they conspired and threw him into a pit. Took their brother and put him into a pit. And I could only imagine how that felt. Someone you love, someone you trust, someone that's a part of your inner circle betraying you like that. Now, Joseph could have got inside the pit, had a meltdown, had a pity party, and gave up. But he didn't. They threw Joseph into a pit. Now, also, when you look at the word pit and you look throughout the Bible, the word pit has a awful, dreadful meaning to it. If you ever look at the word pit throughout the Bible, when we look at it in when we look at the word pit in Isaiah 14 verses 15 and 19, it is worse than being placed in a pit is worse than being in the grave. Now we look at Ezekiel 31 verses 14 and 16. The word pit for that scripture describes it as ruin, like being in ruin. When you're being placed in a pit, it's like being in a place of ruin, in a place of hell. We look at Psalms 30 verse 3 and what pit represents in that scripture. It's like being in a place of hell. Ezekiel 32 verses 18, 22, and 32 is like also being in a place of hell. So when Joseph's brother threw him into the pit, they really meant to erase him. They really meant to destroy him. They really meant to cast him aside, throw him away, forget about him, and put him in a place that was similar to hell. And place Joseph in a lonely place and strip him from everything that was familiar to him. So the significance of Joseph's brothers putting him into the pit has a huge meaning. It means we hate you. It means a place of being slain and like being thrown into hell. And when you really look at the intentions of Joseph's brothers, they really meant to murder him. They really meant to take his life, then throw him into the pit. But because of Joseph's brother Reuben, he said, "No, we're not going to murder him. We're not going to murder him and take his life and have his blood on our hand. We're not going to do that." So they just decided to throw him into the pit. So they threw Joseph into the pit in a place that represents being cast away, thrown away, forgotten, a place of being in a place that's familiar to hell, in a lonely place. So they decided to throw him into the pit. And then they sold him, their own brother, flesh and blood, into slavery. Sold him into slavery. Then Potiphar came along. Then when they sold him into slavery, the Midianites took him into Egypt and sold him. And they sold him to Potiphar. Potiphar took him in, and then after Potiphar took him in and put him over his household, the wife betrays him. Then Potiphar has him thrown into jail. And then when he thrown into jail, then the keepers there put him over the prison. So when you look over Joseph's life, from the time his brothers threw him into the pit, Joseph had a couple of periods in his life that could have set him up for disaster, could have set him up to be destroyed. But God took everything that the brothers done to him, all the way up to the time he was placed over Egypt, all the way from the time that Pharaoh placed him over Egypt, took it and used it for Joseph's good. And in the end, the very brothers that threw Joseph into the pit had to bow down to him and ask for help. The very brothers. See, that's why we have to watch how we treat people, how we do people, because we don't know who we're going to come back and need. When we are here casting people aside, treating people bad, throwing people away, we don't know who we're going to need. That's why we have to watch how we treat people. The very same brothers had to bow down to Joseph and ask for his help. But no matter what those brothers did, because we looked at the meaning of pit being, the kind of like the word of pit throughout the Bible has a bad, low, awful meaning. It's not a good place when you're being put into a pit. Spiritually, physically being put into a pit. Now, for Joseph, him being physically put into the pit also meant he was being put into the pit spiritually too. Because him being put into that pit was to kill his destiny. And it was to destroy him and strip everything that was rightfully his, that was supposed to come from his family lineages, that was supposed to come from his father, was supposed to come from his bloodline. See what I'm saying? But God still took Joseph and still took that awful situation in his life, turned it around in Joseph's favor. And I'm saying all this to say, yes, we all have been through some hellish situations in our life. We've been through some hard situations in our life. And when I look back over my life, some of the things that I went through set me up for the blessings that's in my life today. Because it made me who I am today. And it set me up to be a hard, tough, strong woman. I can walk through many things now that I couldn't walk through then because of the strength that those things caused me to have. It made me a stronger woman today. And not only that, when you look, a lot of times when the devil thinks he's finna destroy our life, he's finna destroy our destiny and rip everything away from us. We have a God that can do anything. He can take pieces of what is broken and build from there. Build from there. So, what I want to tell you all, brothers and sisters, don't give up on God. Yes, a lot of you right now are in a pit. You feel like you've been thrown away. You feel like you're not going to make it. You feel like you'll be successful. But let me tell you something. What I want you all to do, keep praying, keep trusting God, and keep your faith. Keep praying. Keep your faith. Okay? Keep praying. Keep your faith. Keep fasting. Stay before God. Because, see, whenever the devil, our enemies, and our haters rise up against us to destroy our life, it is to erase everything that God has for us out of our life, or to strip something away from us. And we have to be strong enough to say, nope, I'm not giving up. I'm not going to give in to it. Because sometimes what the devil, our enemies, and the haters do to block us or to kill our destiny, God will flip it and turn around in our favor. And a lot of us give up. We give up. I throw the towel in. And I tell you one thing about me. Even though times got hard, things felt bad, I kept pressing. I kept going. I kept praying. I kept trusting God. I kept praying, kept trusting God. And a very blessed woman today. A very blessed woman. And it's not to say I don't have my moments, because I still have my moments every now and then where I have a pity party. I have a meltdown. And I have to go to the Father. And I'm going to say this, then I'm going to end this video. You know how a 3-year-old child, or a 5-year-old child, when they're small, they pitch a fit. They fall out in the middle of the floor, start crying. Whatever they want or they're upset about, they want it now, they want it done now, they're having a fit. They don't understand that you're coming, you finna fix that situation. They have meltdowns to the point where if you're in the kitchen and you're fixing a bottle for a small child, they're like, I want the bottle now, I want it now. They fall out in the middle of the floor and just start crying. And you rush over, you get them in your arms, you cuddle them, and you give them the bottle, they calm down. But guess what? We have those same meltdowns before our Father. We have those same meltdowns, have a pity party, a crying party, and then but in the midst of it all, you have to trust God, because He will cuddle you and grab you and ease that up off of you. He'll ease it up off you. With time and ease it leaves. We're not always going to be in a place. If Joseph would have fell into the pit and gave up and said, this is it, this is where I'm going to be, it probably would have changed Joseph's destiny. But even though Joseph was in that pit, God was still with him. God is still with us when we're in our bad moments and our lonely moments. When we done been cast away and others done forgot about us. We are not alone. God is still with us. God can take any situation and turn it around in your favor. Turn around in your favor, just like Joseph. Joseph had all these episodes to come. And then, and what I love is when he told his brothers, Joseph said to his brothers, what you meant evil against me, but God used it for my good. God can use anything and bring anything back to life and build off anything and bless you in your life. Brothers and sisters, don't let what you're going through, when others are casting you aside, don't forget about you, putting you in a place where it feels like you're in a physical or in a spiritual pit, where you feel like in your heart you feeling like you being cast aside, thrown away, forgotten about, in a hell, in a place of loneliness. You are not there alone. God is with you. But it's up to you to keep your faith and stay strong. God ain't forgot about you. God can take that very situation and turn around in your good. Keep trusting Him. Don't give up in that place where you are, in that spiritual pit that you feel like you're in. Like I say, keep praying. Keep trusting God. And keep your faith. God, you are not alone. You are not alone. God bless you, brothers and sisters. God bless, God bless, God bless.